Good evening, Mount Barker District Council, Monday the 1st of December 2025. I welcome those present in the gallery and those joining us online for this council meeting. An expression of faith. We are honoured to have been elected to serve our community. We pray for a community that is smart, culturally rich, prosperous, safe, connected and sustainable. We seek guidance to be an inclusive council, welcoming new ideas, engaging widely and deciding appropriately for our communities, both now and for the future. An acknowledgement of land. The Mount Barker District Council acknowledges past and present traditional owners of South Australia, and we pay our respects to the leaders of the traditional custodians of this land. We're honoured to be on the ancestral lands of the Paramount and Kaurna people. We acknowledge the first Australians as the traditional custodians of this continent, whose cultures are amongst the oldest living cultures in human history. We pay respect to the elders of the community and extend our recognition to their descendants who are present. Please take a seat. Item 1, I have no apologies or leave of absence. Item 2, questions from the gallery. The next 15 minutes are available for members of the community to ask questions relevant to council. It's not a time to make a deputation, that will come in a few minutes, have intense discussion or debate. Council members and staff also appreciate opportunities to respond to questions outside of council meetings, as this can allow for a considered response to questions that require investigation. Each member of the gallery has been provided with a flyer outlining the manner in which questions may be asked. Members of the gallery, are there any questions? Yes, sir. Please come to the rostrum. State your full name and which town you're from and your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors. My name is John Ewart. I'm a resident of Mount Barker at 8 Morialta Grove. My question tonight relates to, in context, the council's policy called crossover and verge policy. On the northern boundary of Spring Lake is where Morialta Grove rests. And there is a parcel of land there which has never been maintained in 9 years and currently has very high grass. As a resident, I've identified to council a number of risks to the public and residents of that area relating to that parcel of land. I believe there may be a response that has been prepared. However, my question is, the verge policy would identify that the council is responsible for that land. However, it's not ever been maintained. Who owns that land and who can I contact to make sure it is maintained?
Do you have a street address for that parcel of land?
No, it's just Morialta Grove, and beyond that it is Martins Road.
Excellent. Then in that case, Mr. CEO, would you like to either delegate somebody or have a go? Mr. Bird. Mr. Bird, General Manager of Infrastructure, will supply an answer on behalf of council.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Ewart, for your questions. So I was alerted to your email today. So I went and had a look at the parcel of land in question today on Morialta. And it's a piece of, it appears to be a piece of land a couple of metres in width that's abutting the Martins Road National Road Reserve, which has been converted to a shared use trail. So I did notice the council had maintained the shared use trail at Martins Road quite effectively with brush cutting, but there was a strip of land there a couple of metres wide, which would normally be road reserve, which hadn't appeared to be touched, and there was some slight overgrowth there. So my manager of maintenance operations is in the room, listening with this conversation. And his name is Jamie Thornton, and he will follow up with you and ensure that those works are undertaken. So, thank you.
Thanks very much. Is council able to identify who owns the land?
I can. And Mr. Burton again.
Sorry, I'll just finish that. Sorry, I didn't address the question. Apologies. So yes, we can. Jamie, I'll get Jamie to confirm that with you as well. My suspicion is it's council road reserve. So, but we'll confirm that with you, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question, sir. I'll move to any other people who may have a question who are in the gallery. Is there any other member of the gallery who would like to ask a question for this December meeting? All right. Well, in that case, I'll go to item 3, confirmation of the minutes. Do I have somebody move that way, please? Councillor Westwood, seconded by Councillor Jones. That's for the meeting that was held on the 3rd of November 2025. All those in favour? You have to put your hand up, sir. Thank you. It's like at school sometimes. Carried. Then I'll move to the second part, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on 10 November as circulated. Does somebody wish to move that to record? Councillor Selassie, seconded by Councillor Elizabeth Hanford. Seconded. All those in favour? Carried. Item 4, conflict of interest declarations. Council members are reminded of the requirement for disclosure by members of material or general conflicts of interest in relation to items listed for consideration on the agenda. Members, are there any conflicts? Deputations. Due to ill health, the Mount Barker and Districts Residents Association has requested that the deputation be postponed. We will work with the association for a new meeting date. Item 5.2. Ms. Shirley Howe, Chairperson, Hundorf Community Association, to present a deputation to make a proposal regarding the future development of the building at 108 Mount Barker Road, Main Street in Hundorf. You have 5 minutes, Ms. Howe. Thank you for your deputation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for listening to my deputation. So I'll be talking just a little bit about 108 Mount Barker Road. So an overview, Mount Barker Road is the busiest street. It's the main street of Hundorf, also called Main Road. This particular building, this particular piece of land, has outstanding exposure to Hundorf's town entrance. It is an old building, turn of the century or early last century, turn of last century, at the town's entrance. It has high ceilings, timber floorboards, stained glass windows and character features, and it is at the entry of the proposed car park for the town. So as you're aware, the town of Hundorf is a major tourist attraction for the state of South Australia and the district of Mount Barker, attracting over 1 million visitors per year. It's about 1.2 million now. Due to the rapid increase in tourism, it's unlikely that this number of visitors will reduce and will most likely increase in the future. As a result, there is a serious lack of parking infrastructure within the town, as well as an absence of a visitor information centre. Hundorf also has a rising population of older residents, with the majority, not the majority, but a lot of the people that live in Hundorf over the age of 65. We have 2 large retirement communities and the expansion of one potentially in the mix. In addition, Hundorf is home to several schools, early learning and daycare centres, and vocational education centre. The town currently lacks a community education centre, a community centre, apart from a small museum in the Hundorf Institute. So just coming back to 108, this is the floor plan of the building. This is the front part of the building, which is 4 main rooms. It's a typical early 20th century cottage. And this is what we're proposing for the future. It will require some additional facilities built onto it. It's been identified that the lean-to at the back of the building is not going to be fit for purpose for very much at all. So what we're suggesting is for the Mount Barker District Council to consider developing 108 Mount Barker Road as a multi-use community hub, incorporating a visitor car park, a visitor information centre, a resident drop-in centre aimed at the elderly and others within the community who may be lonely or disengaged, and as an educational centre highlighting the heritage, history, including the deep and colourful Indigenous history of the area, and the natural environment, the flora and fauna of the Adelaide Hills. And we see this as being an ideal place for schools and other educational facilities to visit and to learn a bit more about not only our heritage, but our flora and fauna and our Indigenous history. So I've just got a slide here of envisioning community spaces. So we're looking at connecting the community through this community space, providing access to educational resources, celebrating our local heritage, and if there's room, it may be even having space for a community garden where children can learn and other members of the community can learn about our flora and fauna and perhaps even plant some native or, you know, some other types of flora. We see this as a way of celebrating our heritage together. So honouring our local heritage, providing educational resources that celebrate our heritage, and provide the community with a gathering space that could serve as a welcoming space for residents to meet, fostering social connections and community spirit. Yep. We understand the complexity and the cost of such a development, but also the value that such a facility would have within the Hahndorf community. The visitor centre, the Adelaide Hills, the beauty of the Adelaide Hills. Sorry, I keep forgetting to do this. In potential with collaboration, so not us alone, but the council and other associations and business around the area.
That's your 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Such a development is likely to solve multiple issues in Hahndorf, and we see it as having a huge impact on Hahndorf and the surrounding area. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please provide the roster.
Oh yeah, first a question, sorry.
I invite questions from councillors, and you ask the questions through me, and do you have any questions of the deputy? Are there any questions, councillors? I'll start with Councillor Fordham.
Through you, Mayor.
Sure.
Have you done any economic studies on the economic benefits that could flow from this project?
So the economic benefits that we've looked at this stage relate mostly to the Visitor Information Centre. So we see the Visitor Information Centre as being the commercial side of the proposal. There's opportunities within Visitor Information Centres for, obviously for the businesses in the town to promote their things that they're selling. But not only that, the Adelaide Hills as a whole. So allowing businesses and some of the wineries and some of the businesses on the outer of the town to have their information shared within the Visitor Information Centre. So there's certainly a lot of information on the internet that obviously I need more than 5 minutes for that to provide some economic research that we have done. So to answer the questions, yes, but it is mostly to do with the Visitor Information Centre because we see the other community components of the hub being for the community.
Are there any other questions from councillors of the deputy? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, through Mayor.
Thank you for the presentation. You identified several prospective partners.
Yes.
Have you spoken with any of those potential partners, and are they interested or?
Yes. At this stage, we've spoken to the health organisation that is interested also in the building to provide that community drop-in centre for the elderly people in the community. So we have spoken to them and we have their support. The other organisations, not at this stage. So tonight is really just scoping with the council, getting the idea into the minds of the councillors first, because obviously you own this property. And then if we can work towards potentially a working group or some kind of community discussion with those other organisations, and that's where we see a lot more of the detail and a lot more opportunities to interact with the Adelaide Hills Tourism, South Australian Tourism, and also the Harndorf Business and Tourism Association. Haven't had an opportunity to speak to them yet, but I do know that they do like the idea of a visitor centre, and they also need parking.
Thank you.
Councillor Westwood, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Through you, Mayor. How much have you consulted with the actual Harndorf community so far with this? I see the scope is fairly open at this particular point in time, but have you had a sort of wide-ranging community feeling on it?
Yes.
And the second part of the question would be, have you got any, do you envisage how the cost sharing of the actual running of the centre would work? Who would be paying for what? Who's going to staff the visitor centre, and how that's going to be looked after, and then the community centre and those sorts of things? Because they're obviously they're on costs that will take they'll go forever.
Yes. 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 So acknowledging the ongoing costs, and obviously I acknowledge that we acknowledge as an association the investment that it will take to get something like this actually developed. So the first part of the question. Sorry, what was the first part? I've got the second one in my head.
Wider community consultation.
Yes, so absolutely. My role as chair and our committee, we've spoken to the community at length. I've also had on our Facebook page members of the community commenting on what they would like to see, not in this building in particular, but in Harndorf. One of the really strong feelings in the town was for a visitor information centre. Interestingly, from the residents, but also from lots of the visitors. So we did provide a petition. It was mostly from visitors coming to the town, but there's quite a feel for the visitor information centre. There was also discussion about us not having a community centre in the town or anywhere for the community to be able to meet for social gatherings and to support community activities apart from the parks. Acknowledging that we do have the institute, but that has quite a different role. So this is seen as being a very different sort of feel to it than an institute, which is the hall. The other part is part of my role is talking to people in the street, and I also take the walking tours in Harndorf, and I talk to people about what people think the town needs all the time. And this seems to be where the town has been lacking. I've also spoken to a lot of the elderly residents that live in their own homes in Harndorf, and apart from their church, if they do go to church, they don't really have anywhere specifically for them to be able to meet. And that also comes into us speaking to the health organisation. Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So just supplementary, are you aware that there was a senior citizens club in Harndorf for years and years and years, which died for lack of attendance?
Yes.
Was it the bowling club?
Yes, I do know.
Have you spoken to the bowling club in regards to
No,
reinstating that?
No.
Because they're very, very keen on shared use.
on senior citizens club?
Anyone.
Anyone?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there another councillor who'd like to ask a question on Ms. Howe? Yes, councillor Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Please stand, councillor Kelly.
Yeah, some of my questions have been asked by others, but I just wanted to, I guess, ask you about the staffing of the visitor centre and whether you, all that being mostly volunteers or what the mix between paid and unpaid staff may be. And the other question that I have is in the community aspects that you proposed, the two rooms you set aside for that. How do you see those being actually used? What's the type?
The rooms.
Those community rooms.
So the first question, sorry, Dan. Staffing.
Yeah.
So the way that we see it being staffed in terms of the visitor information centre would be primarily with a paid manager and volunteers. When the visitor information centre in Harndorf closed down a couple of years ago, there was a lot of volunteers that were left hanging, and there is quite a lot of interest in volunteering at another visitor information centre. That particular role for our volunteers was really quite well implemented by the community. So that's the way we see that working. With the other part of it, the elderly support and drop-in centre, we see the health organisation as having somebody manage that side of it on their behalf, and whether that's paid or volunteer, then that's entirely up to them. The way we see the building being used, the front part with the 4 main rooms, we see like the visitor centre potentially requiring the 2 front rooms. A lot of visitor centres that we visited around the state tend to have a business desk where people can ask questions and speak to staff members and volunteers, and then potentially another space for businesses to be able to promote what they're offering, and that could be what they're offering in Harndorf or in the Adelaide Hills. So that's how we would see the front 2 rooms being used, and then the back 2 rooms being for a community library, where we can maintain and provide information about our heritage. There are Harndorf archives that are hidden away on the Beerenberg estate, and we see that as being a way of bringing some of those archives out into the light and actually allowing people to have access to those, and also to highlight our Indigenous past. There's very little in the town that actually celebrates the Indigenous history, and it was really a very strong Indigenous population, as a lot of the councillors here are probably aware, the Parramatta people, and the way that they interacted with our early settlers in Harndorf is a really interesting part of our history. So providing access to that side of our heritage, as well as our Prussian and German heritage, we think is really where we're lacking. So one of the rooms is a library as such, with sitting areas as well, and one of the other rooms with lounges and seating and potentially a dining area for community meets, like for anybody to meet really, but the elderly to meet, have a meal, have a conversation. And then we do recognise that the back part of the building does need to be rebuilt. It's in quite bad shape. So we see there potentially being space to have a kitchenette, some kind of kitchen, and a bathroom facilities. And of course, we'll be surrounded by the parking. We need to look at some disabled parking and access and things like that to the building. Does that answer you?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. The parking footprint of the actual activities inside the building, do you think that's considerable? Do you do that?
Yeah, look, it's going to be dependent, obviously, on what the building's been used for at the time. The visitor centre, if people are coming to the town to visit, then we see them as parking in either Carnichi car park next to 108 or in the 108 car park, and then coming into the visitor centre first. So they're going to be parking there anyway. And then when the other rooms are being utilised by the community, potentially having some parking for the site for those members, in particular for the disabled or the elderly, to have access to the building and still be able to park. Being in Hahndorf itself and in in the town itself, we do think that there's a number of people that will walk to the community space and not necessarily need parking. But yes, definitely there will need to be some parking for those other activities.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the deputy? Then in that case, Ms. Howe, thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for providing answers to the questions to the councillors for your time.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. I now move to item 6, questions with notice. There are none. I go to item 7, questions without notice. Councillors, members, are there any questions without notice? Councillor Fordham. Thank you.
I wish to foreshadow the following question. I'll be asking for a seconder, so question and response can be recorded. As a council, I'm just keen to follow up on the progress of our strategic documents. Can you please give an update on the progress of the tree management policy, including the consultation, what consultation has been planned, and the revision, and when can the council expect to receive a briefing on this important matter?
Thank you, Councillor Fordham. Mr. CEO, would you have a staff member who would care to answer that question?
Mr. Burton, actually. Thanks, Councillor.
Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So at the last council meeting, council chose to defer considering the tree policy till March 2026. So during that time, we undertook to consult specific stakeholders on the tree management policy, including having a information session or briefing with the council members. So we have an engagement plan which has been prepared and identified some meetings, particularly with the community voice for the environment. That meeting occurs tomorrow. So the number of staff team tomorrow, so their feedback, we'll receive that in writing. We'll start with them and we'll work with also those other community groups that have provided input into the environment strategy across the next couple of months before bringing back a workshop to council on February the 16th to have a discussion on the draft policy, which has had the benefit of community input. So 16th February 2026 is when the briefing is likely to be, and then the report will be brought back to council for that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions without notice, councillors?
Do I need to second my?
I'm going to do that, but first of all, we have to, as you have foreshadowed, you move that you would have your question and answer recorded in the minutes. Do I have a seconder to that? Councillor Jones, you suspect that?
No, thank you.
Councillor Jones?
No.
Any other councillor? Councillor Fordham?
Thank you.
You suspect?
No, thank you.
All those in favour? And that is carried. Are there any other questions without notice, councillors? No? Okay, then I'm going to jump in with a 7A, and at this point, I'd like to thank Councillor Jones for her 12 months of service as a very, very considerate and strong support for me as Deputy Mayor. Your work, legend, is well known amongst council. You are a very strong supporter of the council and the processes. I am sincerely thankful for all the work that you did to support me this year. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much, Councillor Jones.
Thank you.
The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Councillor Darren Kelly to stand one more time. Councillor Kelly, it's a great honour to welcome you to this Mount Barker District Council chamber, and I congratulate you on your position as a mayor. something I haven't told you about. As a councillor for the South Ward, and of course, anybody in this chamber can become the mayor at any time or even outside of this chamber. So I do hope you enjoy your time here. We are a collegiate family, and I'd like, it's not normally done here, but I'd like people to show their congratulations to councillor. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
We now move to item 8.1, the Mount Barker Skate Park. Councillor Vogt, you have the floor.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, look, I noticed that my background is not up there. Okay, so I assume that it might have been, and I'm hoping that it has been seen because I probably wasn't going to speak too much to it. Yes, I'm getting nods. Yeah, because look, there is a bit of a history to this, but I've seen it with had access to it, so that's good.
You can just hold yourself there. I'll seek a seconder before you proceed. Do I have
Good idea, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the approbation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fordham, you had your hand up pretty smartly. Councillor Fordham, the second. You now have the floor, Councillor.
Yeah, apologies for that. I'm still there in process here, obviously. Yeah, so look, this is quite a modest proposal, I believe, and it really is in line and coming off the back of what was presented to us at the previous meeting, to well-meaning, likely community users, residents, and people that try to get the most out of this district in the way that they please. Came to us and presented a bit of a story that it's not up there, but we've all seen it and we know the deal. So yeah, look, in keeping in line with that and trying to achieve some outcomes, and I will note, and I'm really thankful for this, that the staff have been quite responsive in their own regard. So I feel like the follow-up for that deputation exceeded my expectations. Council members are aware of things and the staff are moving, and I noticed that there was a statement of intent of works or something out into the public around what we're getting on and doing at the skate park soon. So yeah, I really do appreciate that. This is, in my mind, a bit of a legacy issue, and a famous speech given in Parliament by Julia Bishop, where she sorry, I've gotten this little bit. Anyway, the quote is, holding up the mirror to yourself is quite a useful thing to do at times. And here in the council, we rightfully so go on about the infrastructure legacy and the deficit that we are in Mount Barker, the growth area, the growth front that we experience requires services and facilities and infrastructure behind them. And we rightfully need to be on to every level of government to provide that level of support. There is also a role and an element of this that we can partake in, and I think that knowing the history that we all know about this skate park, this is something that we are prepared and able to take on. So really, I think the report that I'm requesting is to re-enliven the discussion around the skate park and bring it up to a potential that I think users would appreciate, and I think the coming many thousands of people, and the users are a wide range, not just kids with baggy jeans anymore. It really is families. It really is a community activity, and quite a good one at that. A couple of other reasons I feel necessary to bring this up. Advocating for youth issues is kind of a difficult thing because the people involved in the advocacy will tend to move on, right? They grow older, they move away. Parents, while their kids are there, are going to be championing it, and that's what happened 13 years ago. So I think part of our role here is to be a consistent advocacy behind places like that. And unlike sports traditionally, we've got football and cricket where there's an organisation around it that can really keep on to us about what their needs are and get us there. These types of activities don't quite have that organisation, so I feel we play a vital role in kind of facilitating that. Two other points. It's a very popular thing at the moment, skateboarding. It really is. There's a lot of talk about it in Meadows that I'm probably sure we're mostly aware of. And, you know, it went into the Commonwealth Games or the Olympic Games and something like that. And I've heard some lovely stories about the confidence that it provides. Young kids as they're growing up, giving them a bit of flair, giving them a bit of personality, a bit of individuality, and I think that makes the world a better place. As well, the long-term planning of this. So look, the report doesn't dare dictate where we're going in the future. It suggests things that I think we should be considering looking at this site or potentially another site. And I think that discussion around the location is thought to probably happen prior to too much further involvement, because the matter of fact is it may be moved, and if we're going to move it, then I think we get a bit of blank canvas, and a lot of these ideas can be explored really, really fully. But that is probably likely many years away. So I'm hopeful that the report can indicate the current site and for the current users that we are probably needing to make up for lost time here. It saddens me a bit to think of all the people that have come and gone through Mount Barker and seen the skate park in the same case that it was when I was a rebel kid of that area. So yeah, look, I really hope the report is indicating to us what the council staff is a good way to approach this area with a bit of revitalisation and a little bit in lockstep with the kids that we heard from last time, the users there currently, and anyone else that wants to use good public infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ford.
Thank you. I think Ryan's spoken quite well to it. I did think the deputation we had last month was well put together, well thought out. They had done consultation and petition. I'm very keen to support youth activities, particularly in Mount Barker. And I think this is a good initiative to get on the table at the moment, particularly with the election coming up and just getting profile of things up. It's consistent with the open space strategy, and the staff are confident that they can deliver the report. So I see no reason why it should be supported, and acknowledge the staff work today on this.
Thank you. Any other councillor? Councillor Selassie.
We have a non-confidential youth spaces feasibility study outcomes and recommendations that was received in late October, which I spoke to only last meeting in the context of recommendations going forward regarding Mount Barker Community Centre and the broader Dumas Street precinct for youth. Referencing this document again, one of the key recommendations from this youth spaces feasibility study, recommendation 5, is to upgrade and expand the skate precinct at Keith Stevens Park. Quoting this report, as commissioned by council, the recommendation states, upgrade and expand the skate park precinct to improve the condition, incorporate additional outdoor recreation activities and associated facilities such as toilets and shelter, invest in more programmed activities, events to activate this space, end quote. I thank Councillor Vogt for his background, as it shows that there has been continued interest in Mount Barker skate park over many years, and as mentioned, it's unfortunate but foreseen that youth who push for upgrades to youth facilities tend to age out before they can actually see the fruits of their hard work and advocacy. I do note from the officer's comment that previous attempts have been made by council to source external grant funding to upgrade this facility without success. I think it's timely that with the youth spaces feasibility study just landing, the deputation of last month, the need for repairs and maintenance to this facility, and the burgeoning youth cohort that our district is experiencing, with a new classroom of youngsters being added to our community every 8 weeks, that council now requests this comprehensive report on the skate park, and I'm pleased to see it can be accommodated by staff in the timeframe suggested. Thank you.
Any other member? Councillor Grosser.
Look, I think it's important that we support sports like skating, because the stats are that more youth now engaged in activities like that, and BMX, cycling, dance, etc., than organised team sports. We do the organised team sports part very well, but not quite as well in some of the other spaces. As Councillor Selassie said, it's on the council agenda. It's also on there. It's been discussed by us. It's in the draft recreation action plan. So it is happening, but it's been happening for a long time. So as I've said, very slowly. It wasn't the first really eloquent presentation we've had from community members last time. We had one, at least 10 years ago from a woman who tried very hard for a period of time. There's been community petitions in recent times. So yeah, we're starting to move in that direction, but at this motion, speeds that up at all, then worthwhile for that. It will achieve an information update, which can only be helpful. And yes, like I said, it builds on the advocacy of others, community members that has been eloquently put to us, and shows that we are engaged with the issues. So I support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any other member wishes to speak to this motion? Excuse me, I'll revert to councillor vote to close.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd like to just thank the supportful comments and like Councillor Grosser did, acknowledge and did make contact with that woman who came in here 13 years ago to present almost a very identical presentation that we heard from in the previous meeting. And so, on a personal note, it is a very lovely thing to deliver someone a call out of the blue and say you've picked up something that they had long since forgotten about. And yeah, look, I hope this does feed council along into the right position here. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? The motion's carried. I'll move to motions without notice. Item 9. Members, are there any motions without notice? Item 10, petitions. There are no petitions. Item 11, recommendations from committees. The Community Funding Assessment Committee. Do I have somebody move about the discretionary rebates, please? Councillor Orr, and seconded by Councillor Selassie. Councillor Orr to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, in my opinion, largely administrative. Thank you very much.
Councillor Selassie. Any other member? Councillor Grosser.
So are we discussing discretionary rates?
We're
Yes.
talking about discretionary
Yeah,
rebates.
I'm just wondering why how much support the Hardorf Town band are getting. What's the value for the community grant they're getting? Whether that's ongoing and whether staff know how much they're paying rates, because their application wasn't supported.
I'm not sure that they have their own actual building, do they?
Yes.
They have a concert hall.
It's also got a lot
Sorry?
Oh,
Next item.
I think we're getting to the next item.
okay, or maybe an item short, right?
You may be.
Okay.
Good. Happy worried about you for a second, Councillor Grosser. Does anybody else wish to speak to this matter? Then in that case, Councillor Orr.
Nothing to add, Mayor. Thank you.
All those in favour? All those against? You're going to have to put your hand up. All those in favour? No, you have to keep it up. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? The motion's carried. Right, we now move to 11.2.1 discretionary rebates. Somebody wish to move that way, please. Councillor Westwood and Councillor Orr. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Mayor, and I thank Councillor Grosser for preempting my query.
You did.
The Hardorf Town Band does indeed have its own standalone hall.
Good.
They bought and paid for so many. Oh, actually, no, the Department of Transport bought and paid for when they got moved from the freeway site. And I was just wondering, much like Councillor Grosser, the question would be, can the staff reflect on what other community grants that the band gets to defray the costs in regards to their rates, and would it not be a lot tidier just to have that rate rebate rather than having to say, well, I don't know whether this is an annual thing, but we have to do this annually, and so, no, again, every year, or what goes on. So just a few questions around that.
Thank you. Councillor Orr.
Nothing to add at this stage. Thank you.
Any other member? Councillor Grosser.
Yeah, look, I'm interested in, I think that there's a good organisation, the Town Band, and that hall, decades ago, they generously made available to my sons who had a rock band, so I've mentioned a number of times over the year that I'm certainly interested because I no longer have a rock band. But I mentioned a number of times that it'd be great if we had a band practice space in Mount Barker. I think it's up there with the skate park as far as it'd be a really valuable asset to youth and somewhere they could hang out. There's unfortunately nowhere like that. If we turn the Outer Hills Rec Centre into a youth centre, which is an option, be ideal because it's isolated from residents. However, they couldn't find anywhere in Mount Barker to practice, but managed to get in through knowing somebody into the Handorf Town Hall and use the concert hall that the town band used for a number of years to practice, which was very helpful to them. So, I think, I guess over my, I'd be interested in knowing details on what they get, and I was disappointed to see them not get this. So, a bit more information if staff could look into a case to perhaps, may support them getting a recall.
Thank you. We'll take that on notice, councillor, and provide advice to you and all the other councillors. Thank you for raising it. Thank you. Councillor Seeger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm similarly a bit confused about the lack of support for the Handel band, the town band, because it seems to refuse on the basis that they can't receive assistance by way of community grants. That doesn't seem to be particularly logical or consistent, because I'm sure other properties, other facilities that receive rebates and community grants both get the rebate. And I'm thinking of, I may be wrong, I'm not thinking of anything, sorry. I'm wondering whether that is in fact an inconsistency in terms of the support is for a standing charge. The community grant comes and goes. This, as I understand it, provides for a 3-year rebate. So by virtue of receiving a community grant, they lose 3 years of potential rebate. It doesn't seem to be a very good basis to exclude them for 3 years of potential rebate because they've received a community grant potentially for one relatively, I don't know, small project. I don't know the details. It's the principle I'm concerned about, that receiving a community grant could disqualify you from an ongoing discretion. So I'm not comfortable with this aspect. Otherwise, parts 1 and 3 I'm quite happy with.
Any other member? Councillor Selassie.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a clarifying question that I might ask for you for staff. My understanding of this, as opposed to where we have given the 100% rebate to other entities in the previous item, is those entities are in a council-owned building. This, I understand, is actually owned by the Handorf Town Band. So my question to staff is that why we are not giving the rebate? Because it is not a facility owned by council, and we do, with them owning their own property, we do still give them funding via council.
Excellent question, Councillor Selassie. Mr. CEO, do you have honourable staff who care to answer?
Yes.
Or you may.
Well, no, I don't want to answer it because I don't have the facts in front of me, but it is a rating policy matter. And if I'm looking at this early on, unless somebody else is suggesting they've got more information. So it's about a rate rebate policy. I think this is where you're taking it down the rate rebate path, and we're onto something in terms of the council ownership of property.
Through the Mayor, I'm not aware of any reason why there'd be a distinction between if it was council owned or privately owned for the purposes of being able to apply for the rebate. We do apply discretionary rebates for other sites. Why this one in particular has been refused for the criteria, I'd have to speak to the committee to understand. I'm not on that committee and I didn't attend that meeting. So we'll take it on notice to find out what the rationale from that committee is, and then that can be reported back to this group.
Thank you, Mr. Leno. Does anybody else wish to speak to this matter? Then I'll revert to Councillor Westwood to close.
Thank you, Ben. I thank Councillor Selassie for actually crystallising where we're at, which is basically why would the town band be in a different boat to another group, whether or not it be a council building. It actually, the building that they're in was gifted to them by the Department of Transport when the building they had was bowled over for freeway. So that's why they're in that place now. So I would really like to understand why their rebate is, why they don't have a rebate, why they're looking at, why the committee looked at the community grants aspect. I guess what I would like to see is that this section number 2 be deferred until we get an answer on it. I don't know quite how to do that.
I think you're a little bit late for the
yeah.
process, but what we can do is we can approach this matter from another angle at another time,
That'd be
but
good.
not in this stage.
No, I get that, but it's just I'm not at all comfortable with
I can see that.
the whole thing as it is. That's all. It just seems odd.
Fine. I'll now put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. All those against? We have a tie in the vote. So comes down to me to consider the matter, and I'd be inclined to vote in the negative. So the motion is not carried. I now move to item 12.1, Cemetery Service Review, Future Management. We're now discussing that matter. Do somebody move that be accepted? What is there before you? Councillor Fordham, seconded by Councillor Seeger. Councillor Fordham, you have the floor.
I really appreciated we had the briefing on this a few weeks ago, and we got a really good explanation of why the decision was made to keep this within council and not outsource it. I think the arguments were very solid. There was economic reasons, also capability and ability to integrate it into other council services. I've also got the sense that there's a cultural element to having people from the council working on these sites and protecting them, looking after them. So I'm totally in favour of the proposal, and thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Seeger.
I don't think I had anything further to Councillor Fordham's comment. They summed up very well. Thank you.
Any other member? Councillor Grosso.
Yeah, look, I thought it's a good briefing. I support the approach to keep it in-house and seek efficiencies. Just one comment or question. It said environmental issues not applicable. I'll just point out that some of the cemeteries in the district are great repositories of remnant vegetation. For example, Macclesfield, that I'm not sure if it still is, but for many years it's maintained by a local bush care group. So there is quite an environmental aspect to the cemeteries as well as the other issues. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other member? Councillor Boat.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I can clarify, bush care is still at the cemetery site and it's still a loved aspect to the cemetery there. Yeah, I agree with everything. The report is quite good, I'm finding. And I'll be amiss of me not to acknowledge that early next year we are kickstarting a bit of investigation into the natural burials process. So I know there are a few dedicated people that are on to me about ensuring that is a happening thing. So I wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Any other member wish to speak? And I'll go to Councillor Fordham to close the debate.
I think it was all well expressed. I was also keen to see that there was a cost recovery element to this project, and also a subsidy for people living within that council district. So I think it's got a good balance, the costs versus benefits.
All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. 12.2, Ichunga Mansion Power Line Undergrounding. Do I have somebody move that way? Councillor Vogt, seconded by Councillor Westwood. Councillor Vogt, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, no, I won't go on too much here. It's good to see the money come into the project. It is change of complexion for the main street there that I am sure will continue to be the case for years to come as this project unfolds, hopefully not few years, as few as we can, but yeah, it seems like it's all in line with the strategy.
Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to congratulate the staff and everyone involved in this because I think, as I said, with stage one, I'm absolutely astounded at the rate of speed that's been achieved. And I think it's a fantastic thing. I think NAM took something like 6 years and Hardwell took something like 10 years. And so to have this occur in this time frame is absolutely amazing. And I congratulate all the staff and everyone involved.
Any other member wish to speak? Then I'll revert to councillor vote.
Nothing that then.
All those in favour? All those against? It's carried. 12.3, public conveniences in Echunga, post-community consultation. Do I have somebody?
If I may move an amendment to this motion?
Not yet.
Not yet. Keep that in mind, thank you.
However, because it's a recommendation from council, as you would know from previous discussions that we've had around meeting procedure, if you are the person who first puts up his hand, you can move something entirely different or something in complete agreements.
Yeah.
So I'll now call for people who wish to speak for this matter.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'd like to an alternative motion. So.
It's not an alternative motion, it's just a motion. This is a recommendation from staff.
Okay.
So what would you like to move? And it would have been very timely if you could have printed that out for the...
Yeah, look, I'll save you the details. I mean, it's very simple. The point B of point 2, section B.
Yes.
I appreciate there's some changes there. I would like the council to entertain the idea of removing that point completely and maintaining business as usual. And I will speak to why that is.
So you're going to move the entire recommendation from staff with the exclusion of D?
Yeah.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Well, we've taken D out, and I said to you, is that all you want to do is just take out D? And you said yes.
Point 2, D.
Remove?
Yeah. And I agree with the changes up there to the naming, so I appreciate those would stay the same.
Yep.
In the yellow, yeah.
Good, but the thrust of your, my understanding that your motion is that you will move 12.3 as it's written there as a recommendation from staff with the exclusion of 2D. That's the only change.
Yes.
That's your motion?
There's my motion.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fordham? Councillor Vogt, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. And look, to be honest, I'm really keen to see what others would say about this, and I'm not. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say it's the perfect thing to do because I appreciate the staff go through a lot of work to come to these recommendations, and they've obviously had an idea. But look, I would like us to entertain an alternative one in this instance. So strategy is by removing D, we remain business as usual. We have budgeted for the design of a community park toilet at the site, which is also attached to the Remembrance RSL garden in Echunga. This is a toilet block that has been consulted on 3 separate times, going back through the township plan, the report more recently, and as well in the budget that it is was allocated for. So the thinking is that we have put this out to market. We've heard 3 separate times, and I appreciate people's patience in responding to more or less the same thing in those 3 instances. And I think it was very clear that this would be an appreciated move. The funny thing is, and hopefully you'll recall, I had this out of the toilet discussion for Echunga. This was my lowest priority for Echunga. That being said, I believe having the design work done and having it in the back pocket, while it may be a bit of an investment up front, and I would appreciate someone to ask the question if that 50,000 allocation from the budget would entirely be spent around the drawing up of the creation of these designs. But having the designs in the back pocket, I know from experience and from other examples in the district where that design work has been more instrumental in providing to external grant programs or external funding. And so my thinking is that if we have this design ready and it can take shape in whatever extent the staff can put it together. Now, I know there's a bit of complications with how it all unfolds, but the principle is that if we've got the design, we're ready in those instances where there is external money that may come in and save us a lot more down the line for a park that we have heard 3 separate times. It would be appreciated. My concern also is that if this goes to the wayside now and somehow we end up asking broadly people in Chunga what they would like, and if we hear again that they would like a toilet in the community block, and going from the feedback that was presented to the report, that is likely to be the case. I do not want to have to consult 4 separate times on a toilet block when we could have the design work to at least provide to the community. This is something we're prepared to do. Here's what it would look like. I'm okay telling them for the most part that I have 2 other priorities in Chunga that I'd like to see developed, and there may even be other ones outside of the Chunga that I'd be more interested in. But this is strategic thinking, and I think it would position us well while providing the community the feeling that we acknowledge what our desires and wishes are here, and we put the money out for them, which is, I think, carry it through.
Councillor Fordham.
Also, support Rowan in terms of the going ahead with the design. I've had a read of the consultation, and there was quite a substantial number of people that were looking to have this installed for families and children, possibly to help activate the park. Currently, it's classified a neighbourhood active, potentially go up to districts, such as the Lantern Festival that's been held there. Currently, the actual basins don't have water going anywhere, so there's, I guess, an opportunity to improve the current things that are there. And there's also potential for the Macclesfield Men's Shed. They've got a design currently for a toilet facility and are interested in becoming involved. So it could be a bit of a community project and possibly a way to try and save some money on the projects. And I think there's good support from the Chunga Community Association, from the people that have consulted, and also I think the Macclesfield Community Association is also supporting the proposal. So, I mean, given my environmental proclivities, it would be great if we could look into a composting toilet, but I imagine that's probably not something that could be looked at. But with the low water environment there, I guess it would be interesting to look at what sort of technologies could be used. Thank you.
Councillor Seeger.
Thank you. My reading of this is by deleting section D.
Thank you.
In this then there's nothing in this motion that says anything at all about a toilet in the community park beyond section 3, which says once the open space and economic development lead strategy and action plans are adopted. So, which is kind of what D said in the first place, so I'm really not sure where we end up.
I tend to agree with you, Councillor Seeger. I'm going to possibly seek advice from governance at the front here, because I share your slight nonplussment. So
yes, that's precisely what I have to say. I think again I'll defer to Mr. Hancock, but Mr. Burton he seems to be the go-to because he's all over this at the moment, and I'll probably go to him first with Ms. Hancock at later.
Mr. Burton, all right.
Through you, Mayor. So I guess the intent of the recommendations, I'll just explain the recommendation, was that I think we had a discussion during the briefing that it seemed premature. I think some comments were made. It seemed premature that we're considering a public convenience in the park ahead of the open space strategy and action plans being endorsed. So we certainly took that feedback on board, and noted that the open space strategy, action plan, and community consultation, I think, is now concluded, and the report will soon be coming back to council. We thought it was wise to delay a decision on the investment into the design of the toilet until that open space strategy was completed and considered by council, to confirm that we were aligning our service provision with the classification of the park, and that was the intention of 3. I think item 2D really just summarises the position from the community consultation. So, some ways they are duplicating one another, but our advice to council is to consider the provision and defer any further investment into design until the open space strategy is fully built.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burton. At this stage, while Councillor Seeger is standing, I have had a sidebar or two, and I understand the point you're making, Councillor Seeger, and to that end, Mr. CEO, can I invite your General Manager to my right to speak?
Yeah, and she might also, Ms. Hancock might also address Mr. Burton's last comment, which was about when the open space strategy is expected.
But also too, if you could please, General Manager Hancock, please discuss the matter of what Harry has been talking to, that 2D and 3 seem to be slightly enmeshed, and the effects of what taking out 2D will do. Please go.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, I'll take the open space strategy defining question first. As most of council will be aware, we've just finished consultation on our open space strategy and the 3 action plans. As anticipated, and really showing that we've got a really engaged community. We've had over 300 responses to that strategy and its action plans. So the staff are madly putting together their engagement report to you. There is a workshop scheduled with you, I think it's the 16th of February, to take you through those engagement results prior to you then receiving open space strategy in April or March meeting for adoption of those changes, depending on how you go at the workshop in February. So that's the timing of when we're likely to see the outcomes of the open space strategy. In terms of governance, you have before you a motion that's been moved and seconded. So you need to see that through and determine what you wish to do with the motion that's on the floor, as it's been put to you by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Councillor Fordham. So in terms of 2D and 3, as Mr. Burton has said, they essentially say the same thing, but it's really for council to decide whether it wishes to have any further clarity on the toilet provision in the community park / RSL, or whether you wish to wait until the open space strategy comes back to you next year. I hope that responds to your questions, Councillor Seeger.
Yes, I think I understand. I think I understand that the deletion of Part D does not, in effect, change the original intent of the entire motion that was proposed initially, and council votes deletion of Part D in his moving of the motion, thereby read to no effect, which means effectively the original motion now stands, which means that the toilets at the recreation park, one will be, the western one will be refurbished, the eastern one will be handed to this is really handed to another party. The toilets at the end of the rear of the hall will be maintained in line with the wish of the community, and the progress on a proposed toilet, which has not been decided yet, in the community park will be on hold until such time as the open space strategy, which is to be expected within the next, say, 3 months. In which case, that satisfies what I seem to be, from my perspective, seem to be a perfectly reasonable outcome, and I think I have nothing further to say. Thank you.
Councillor Seeger, anybody else wish to speak to this matter? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor.
My understanding of moving Part D provides some reassurance to the community under the budget on page 38, where it states that the current budget has 50,000 allocated for the design of the public conveniences and associated infrastructure for the community park, subject to council's endorsement. So had we have had D, it would have definitely removed that from the budget. So that was my understanding of the intent of Councillor Boyd. So that's, anyway, just to shed some light on it. I can understand what you're doing, so I support it. I'll keep my comments fairly brief, but I do want to reflect the strength and consistency of the feedback that has come through over a number of years regarding the Echunga Community Park toilet. What we're seeing in the consultation results is not new. The community has been pointing to this need repeatedly through the township plan, the main street work and other engagement processes. It is one of those rare cases where the message has remained the same every single time. The park needs a toilet to function properly. I also want to acknowledge that the community has invested a huge amount into this space themselves. The park has truly been transformed through grants, volunteer work and collaboration between council and local groups. The picnic shelter, accessible pathways and seating have all made it a welcoming place, but without a toilet remains incomplete. The toilet is the final piece that will allow the space to be used fully for family gatherings, events and day-to-day community activity. I do understand the desire to align decisions to broader strategies, but in this instance, the planning work is already budgeted for, as mentioned, and the community need is already very clear. Delaying the project to wait for another strategic document doesn't feel consistent with the amount of consultation and groundwork already in place. I also want to highlight something I raised at the information briefing last week. If we genuinely want to support business activation along Echunga's Main Street, then basic public amenities need to be available within a reasonable distance. Small businesses shouldn't be put in the position of having nowhere to direct customers who ask for toilets. Having facilities nearby is part of creating an environment where businesses can grow and visitors feel welcome to stay longer. That's also why I support the ongoing management of the Memorial Institute toilets for now. They still play an important role, especially while other infrastructure is being considered. Removing access or reducing service levels at this point could have unintended consequences for local businesses and visitors, which I don't think is in the township's best interest. Overall, what I'm hearing from the community and what we can see consistently reflected in the data is that the toilet at the community park is not a new idea and not a controversial one. It's a practical, long identified, strongly supported piece of infrastructure. The community has been patient, they've participated in every consultation and they've shown they're willing to partner where they can. So for me, this is about recognising the work that has already been done and supporting a project that clearly aligns with the needs and aspirations of the community. Thank you.
The other member wish to speak. Councillor Selassie.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had a look at page 29 of our new business plan, and there is certainly $50,000 in there budgeted for design, which was endorsed. I've just had a quick run through the pack we were given and my notes from our briefing, which was very fulsome. However, I don't recall, through my memory, but I do not recall that we actually went through, there was $50,000 budget. It wasn't until I read the agenda that I saw that, oh yeah, okay, that, yes, we do have that in the design. So I can't recall that being brought up in the briefing. I am grateful for the information provided by the Echunga Association Chair and Councillor Vogt, who know the community has been consulted multiple times about the need for public toilet at the community park. I agree that because of the layout of the Echunga Township, we do need to assess the public conveniences that council have there. And while I'm comfortable with the majority of the initial recommendations, I did have concerns with 2D, so I am supportive of it being removed. I had a look at the Echunga Community Park as listed in the draft Parks and Reserves Action Plan today. It's listed as the RSL Garden of Remembrance. in the current draft action plan under the hierarchy or classification is neighbourhood active. Under its classification, toilets are not supported at neighbourhood level. Parks and reserves, due to the length of stay assumed, ability for locals to plan their trips, and potential for other nearby locations to provide their requirement as per the draft plan. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to this classification more broadly across the district. However, as stated, the Chunga Community Community has been consulted many times on the toilet in this location. I guess my concern is that the classification of this park in the draft plan now comes after the $50,000 has already been budgeted and endorsed via a robust process, approved by staff and on community engagement. So we have the money there, and we're now looking at waiting for a strategy to drop with a different hierarchy that doesn't approve toilets being put in this classification of parks. And that really does concern me. The money's there for the design. If we can complete the design, then there's the possibility of grant funding externally. There's the possibility of community-led fundraising, external investment. So I'm comfortable with the design to proceed as budgeted, and we'll go from there as to whether it can be constructed or we need external funding for it. Thank you.
Does any other member wish to speak to this motion? And I'll return to councillor vote to close the debate.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And like I said at the outset, I was keen to see what others had to say, and I do appreciate the picking up on technicalities. You know, I did talk to some people about how to highlight what I wanted to highlight, which I'm grateful that others have recognised here. I don't want us to be treading on ground, avoiding tread on, and go back to people and ask them once again if they want it. And I feel like, you know, it's unusual for me to be going business as usual is what we should be doing. I'm, you know, always trying to change things up, I suppose, but in this case, I would love to see the design ready to go, and I appreciate while the amendment or, you know, new motion may not in effect actually be able to do that, and I wouldn't dare try to construct a proper direction for what I'm trying to achieve here for it, but I'm hopeful that the discussion here and that's been talked about has sort of achieved what I hoped it to achieve. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor. All those in favour of the motion, raise your hand. All those against, the motion is carried. 12.4, Harndorf Parking Survey and Development of Parking Management Plan. Do I have somebody move that way? 12.4? Yep, thanks. We're good. 12.4, somebody wish to move that way, please. Councillor Fordham, seconded by Councillor Westwood. Councillor Fordham, you have the floor.
I think this has been an excellent study. It's data informed in terms of the way it's been done, and it's got some reasonable recommendations for the next period of time to try and work on this quite difficult problem. I support it going out to consultation. I think some of the aspects of it may be a little bit controversial, but we need to put forward things that currently make sense and can help alleviate traffic issues in Harndorf. So that's, I support it.
Councillor Westwood.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm just hopeful this is the last time we have to do this. It seems to have been much like public toilets, consulted over the past several years. I guess my only concern is, and I appreciate the staff and the surveys that were conducted and all the rest of it, and I understand that there was a day over Easter which was used, but April and May is not necessarily the peak time during the week of Harndorf's business and trading. I seem to recall many years ago, about 2012, similar surveys being conducted on a Tuesday afternoon to give a warrant in regards to pedestrian crossings wombat crossings in the main street of Harndorf. And the figures came back where there was absolutely no warrant for the crossings. And yet when the same surveys were conducted several weeks later on a weekend, there was more than one required warrant to do so. So it concerns me that we have middle of the week survey is being conducted in April, May, when it is in fact not certainly far from being the peak times of usage in the Humboldt Main Street. Having said that, what has fallen out of those surveys and what has fallen out of the work that the staff has done, and again, the staff's work cannot be faulted, is that these are the things that the community will be engaged with and on, and I certainly hope that we get good results from it. Thank you.
Any other member? Then I return to Councillor Porter to close the debate.
So just to sum up, the staff have done a good job bringing this together with the data available in a fairly short time frame. I think it's appropriate that it does go to community consultation, given that Arnold is about to experience an influx of more tourists and more traffic, and we need to start discussing it. And so, yeah.
All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. 12.5, Animal Management Bylaw. Do I have somebody move that way, please? Summary restrictions at other councils. Councillor Westwood, seconded by Councillor Boat. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Mayor. It's very good to have a comparison against other councils and what they've done or what they're doing. And it seems to me that what we did in redoing our bylaws, consulting on those bylaws, and then introducing those bylaws, have been supported by the activities of other councils with regards to nuisance noise. Some roosters are wonderful, but nuisance noise in certainly in metropolitan areas or township areas. So I support the recommendation.
Councillor Bowe.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, similarly to I'm in favour of it, and I just add I appreciate the staff's willingness and the workshop that we had on this and provide us a bit of clarity around it. I know it was for some people quite a sensitive issue, and the outcomes weren't always probably what we wanted. But yeah, I appreciate that we came back to the table to have a look, and I agree with James. So thank you.
Any other member? Councillor Selassie.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank staff for the review, which came about due to increased community interest in the Roosters bylaw, and councillors agreeing that a review was worthwhile, which it very much looks to have been. I found the public briefing of last week to be of real assistance in my decision making. It was interesting to learn that a rooster produces 140 decibels of noise, which is more than a chainsaw. I also understand that whether the bylaw was removed or not with this review or considered for, the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act can be used to remove a problem rooster regardless, and has always been the case. This new bylaw is simply a proactive measure, a preventative step to stop people being roosters in the first place, with the aim of avoiding nuisance behaviour from occurring. I also found the benchmarking very useful. There are 14 pages of comparisons. And the majority state that roosters are either not recommended or not permitted. I also think it's really important to mention for residents that have roosters that it's been made clear to us, council staff are not actively seeking these roosters out. They don't have the time or the resourcing to go on a rooster hunt. The only time that an eye will be cast on roosters is if they're actually causing a nuisance, if someone complains. And if that complaint is received by council, we do actually have an obligation to follow that through. So this bylaw is just preventative. There is an act where we can actually go in if there's a clear breach regardless, and I'm quite supportive of staff work done here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Was your hand up then, Councillor Ford?
I was just going to say, I agree through you, Mayor, with
Thank you.
I think it does also reflect the interface between the urban and the rural. And roosters do produce chickens, which feed people. So I think we do need to be able to acknowledge that they're important, but need to be managed within that rural-urban interface. And I think it's just something that needs to be kept in mind.
Thank you very much for that. The other member wish to speak. Councillor Westwood to close. You vote?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. 12.6, request to rename Quarry Road, Macclesfield after community consultation. Anybody wish to, councillor vote, you wish to move that way? Seconder, councillor Jones, councillor vote.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Yeah, firstly, I'd probably like to acknowledge Alex Uino's work in bringing this issue to the fore here. Was a complicated process. You might assume changing the name of a road is an easy thing. No, it certainly isn't. And I think only reserved for particularly unique and special instances. And I believe this is the case here. We'll make as much groundwork for this consultation as I can because I would love to ensure that everyone has their say in this matter. And my sense is overwhelmingly people recognise that while Quarry Road has some significance in the area to previous business that was there, that's long not been the case. And the role that Trevor Calabier played in town for many decades is simply unmatched. It's unmatched. He's unrivaled in his legacy in that capacity. So this is fitting. This is what his family would appreciate. Alex's work to indicate perhaps other alternative options for them, and there was a lot of sensitivities around that, and I think this was handled really excellently. And the perseverance from the family to insist that this is what they'd like, and for us to get there. And I think, this is probably one of the more meaningful things that I've seen happen. To be a privilege to be a part of. And I'm looking forward to rounding up a few people that I know that will happily sing the praises of Trevor. And a little unknown road in the side of Macclesfield will probably take a pretty special place for hearts if this is going to go ahead. So I'm really hopeful that is the case.
Councillor Jones.
No, thank you.
Any other member? Councillor vote to close.
No, thank you, Matt.
All those in favour? All those against? Motion's carried. 12.7, rescission of land management agreement at 22 Murray Avenue, Mount Barker. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Westwood. Second to Councillor Selassie. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Mayor. Very brief. This is a very sensible move, which is obviously an easy thing to do, and with the changes of the Planning Act in regards to secondary builds, it's just administrative more than anything.
Thank you. Councillor Selassie. Any other member? Councillor Westwood.
No, thank you, Mayor.
All those in favour? All those against? We'll start again. All those in favour? All those against? The motion's carried. 12.8, rescission of land management agreement at 2 Fidler Lane. Do I have somebody move that way, please? Councillor Westwood and Councillor Jones. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you, Mayor. Pretty much the same thing.
It is. Councillor Jones.
No, thank you.
Any member? Councillor Westwood.
Again, nothing, thank you.
All those in favour? All those against? Motion's carried. Move to 12.9, process to appoint to the Southern Hills Local Government Association, appointing a deputy board member. And we have recommendations of A, B and C. I'll get a recommendation A, the council resolves to appoint a council member for the position of deputy board member to the mayor of the Southern Hills Local Government Association. Do I have somebody move that way? Councillor Seeger, Councillor Westwood, Councillor Seeger, Councillor Westwood. Any member? Yes.
Can I just clarify?
Sure. we are seeking to resolve to appoint a council member at this stage.
Right, not to appointment, but just seek to appoint.
Seek to appoint a member. Decide what happens with B and C in a few seconds. That will satisfy your very most. So, who was the second then? Anybody wish to speak to the matter? Councillor Seeger?
No.
Councillor Westwood?
No.
Any member? Councillor Seeger? All those in favour? All those in favour? You're gonna have to put your hand up, sir. Right, everyone's got a hand up. Thank you. All those against? Motion's carried. I'll go to recommendation B, that council resolve to follow the process to nominate a council member as a deputy board member to the mayor of the Southern Hills Local Government Association, as outlined in Appendix 1 of the Code of Practice for meeting procedures. Somebody like to move that way, please. Councillor Fordham, seconded by Councillor Slessy. Councillor Fordham. Wish to speak?
No.
Councillor Slessy? Any member? Councillor Fordham?
No.
All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Recommendation C. We now need to seek somebody to be to nominations for the position. That's where we go now, isn't it? Do I have any nominations for the position?
Like to nominate Sam Jones?
Sam Jones, are you prepared to accept?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Do I have any other nominations? Going once. That's it. So congratulations, Sam Jones. Thank you for stepping up to the plate. We now move to recommendation C, that we appoint Councillor Jones as a deputy board member to the mayor at the Southern Hills Local Government Association until the completion of the current council term, completing November 2026. Do I have someone to move that way? Councillor Boat, Councillor, seconded by Councillor Kelly. I'll put your name on the scoreboard. Councillor Boat.
Well, thank you, Matt, for you, and we'll do a fantastic job.
I'm sure. Councillor Kelly, you used to speak to the matter?
No.
You're welcome. Any other person wish to speak to the matter? I return to Councillor Boat.
Love that.
All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Congratulations, Sam. Thank you for doing that job. You will, to assure you'll be attending more than one meeting possibly a year. We now go to the same process to appoint the Kings Back to School Shared Use Infrastructure Advisory Committee of a council member appointment. Recommendation A, the council resolve to appoint a council member to fill the vacancy on the Shared Use Infrastructure Advisory Committee. Councillor Fordham, Councillor Selassie, Councillor Fordham, Councillor Selassie.
No.
Any member? Councillor Fordham?
No.
All those in favour? Carried. We now get a recommendation B, that council resolve to follow the process to nominate a council member to the Shared Use Infrastructure Advisory Committee outlined in Appendix 1. To the council's Code of Practice for meeting procedures. Who'd like to move that way? Councillor Seeger, seconded by Councillor Size. Councillor Seeger?
No.
Councillor Size?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any member? Councillor Seeger? All those in favour? Carried. Go to recommendation C. I now seek nominations for appoint a councillor to the Shared Use Infrastructure Advisory Committee. Councillor Grosser.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Fordham.
Councillor Fordham, are you prepared to accept? Do I have any other nominations besides Councillor Fordham? Yes.
Councillor Orr.
Councillor Orr, are you willing to accept?
I am.
In that case, are there any other nominations to the position of shared infrastructure? No, but in that case, we will be reverting to a voting process. I do. I want to absolutely give both people, Councillor Fordham and Councillor Orr, the opportunity to speak for 2 minutes before people will start thinking about casting their votes. So, Councillor Fordham, are You are the first person nominated, and as protocol would have it, you can stand, and if you wish, you can have 2 minutes or not.
Sure. Yes, look, I've been involved with infrastructure over a number of years, including in this area. I'm very keen to get better involved and help collaborate, developing solutions that are good for the district, the council and the school. I've done quite a bit of community consultation in that area and know quite a few people in that region and understand some of the problems that we have with Bollins Road and that area, and the potential for that area to be developed. So I'm very keen to work with the community on developing it and expand my council knowledge, abilities, and work on a community project.
Thank you. The other person nominated was Councillor Ord. For 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This part of the town is my neck of the woods, if you will. I've lived in the western side of Mount Barker for quite some time and quite familiar with the area also. I'm also quite familiar with the issues and the positives around the St Francis development that is of a very similar nature to what is proposed to be here. That is a very welcome site of St Francis, heavily used by the community, and there's a lot of good learnings to be taken out of that. There's also a lot of history in that site with stormwater management, and it is predominantly revolving around the recreation grounds more so than Bollin Road. But that's not to say that I'm not equally enthusiastic about the Bollin Road project. So I think I can add a lot to this if the committee does meet again anytime soon, and very keen to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. You've heard the debate from the two people. We're going to use the pink slip this time, so people can secretly record your vote and fold it over so it can't be seen, and there'll be no discussion. Thank you, councillors. Mr. Returning Officer.
Yeah. I think my voice is me. Yes. There's no one sitting for you. Well, can you get the phone legs? All that would be available. Very nice.
Councillors, the vote has been counted by our two returning officers. Councillor Ann Fordham will be the nominated person to that position with the King's Baptist School. I now seek somebody to move a motion to appoint her to that position. Councillor Ord, seconded by Councillor Jones. Councillor Ord.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I think that Councillor Fordham will perform quite admirably when this committee next meets. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any member? Councillor Ord.
No, nothing further. Thank you.
All those in favour? All those against? The motion's carried. Thank you, councillor Ford. Move to a nomination to the Hills Area Health Advisory Council. Can I have somebody move that we determine to submit up to 2 nominees to be considered at the local government representatives of the Hills Area Advisory Council? Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor Selessi. Councillor Jones, Councillor Selessi. Any member? Councillor Jones. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried. Recommendation B, that we follow the process that we have for the Hills Advisory Council as outlined in Appendix 1. Do I have a mover? Councillor Westwood. Seconder, Councillor Size. Councillor Westwood.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Size. Any other person? Councillor Westwood.
No, thank you, Mayor.
All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Recommendation C, that can have something that the council nominate YY and ZZ to the Hills Area Health Advisory Council. Do I see somebody move that way, please? No, we'll see that. Yeah. Sorry. We need nominees. Would somebody like to nominate YY and ZZ to the? I'll go with you first.
I nominate Jessica Selessi.
Selessi, councillor Selessi, prepare to stand.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Orr.
I'd like to nominate councillor Westwood, please.
Councillor Westwood.
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have any other nominees? Councillor.
Nominate Rowan Gray, please.
Oh, thank you, but no, thank you.
Right. We'll keep track of who we have got. Yes. Would you like to nominate someone?
Yes, please nominate Councillor Jones.
You may. Councillor Jones. Excellent. Do we?
I call you.
Just for the sake of the record,
Now.
for the sake of the record, I bought it from the CEO. He's a very generous man. So anyway, we now have 2 people nominated. Do I have any further nominations, please? No further nominations? Then in that case, we don't need to fill out a little piece of paper, and I can declare these 2 people duly elected to that position as YY and ZZ, and I now seek somebody to move a motion that we confirm that. Councillor Orr and Councillor Size. Councillor Orr.
Thank you, Mayor. I might just add that this doesn't actually mean automatic entry to the body.
We're quite aware of that.
It is then a recommendation to that body.
We're absolutely aware of that, sir.
Thank you very much. Just want to provide further clarification. It is a very good body to work on, and I've enjoyed the last 3 years. So I hope that these 2 are successful, and well, one of them will be, and can do some good work also.
Thank you. Councillor Size.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other member? Yes,
Thank you.
Councillor Selessi.
Oh, look, may I just clarify, these nominations will go in, but it will, there'll be other councils in our hat that's also going, right? So
Maybe, maybe not.
all right, thank you.
Maybe not. Okay. So, any other person wish to speak? Then I'll revert to Councillor Orr.
No further, Mayor. Thank you.
All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Thank you, councillors who are going to be considered for nomination to the HAC. Thank you for doing so. We now move to item 12.12, the Chief Executive Officer Performance Review appointment of 2026 panel members and independent consultant. And I have somebody move recommendation A, that council resolves to follow the process to elect a member according to this council's code of practice. Councillor Seeger, Councillor Westwood, Councillor Seeger, Councillor Westwood.
No, thank you.
Any member? Councillor Seeger.
No.
All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Recommendation B, that council appoints myself as per the terms of the CEO employment contract, Councillor Jeanette Size as the CEO's nomination, and a council member to be identified for recommendation 1. I've got to move that way. I'm going to move this first and get one. We do. We do. Do I have any nominations for the council member? Well, I'll start from this end.
I'd like to nominate Harry Seeger, Councillor Harry Seeger.
Harry Seeger, you prefer to stand?
Yes, I'll stand.
If you're elected. Councillor James.
I would like to nominate Councillor Selassie, please.
Councillor Selassie.
Yes, thank you.
There's some more hands up on the way around.
Would.
So they've dropped down.
Dropped out.
Excellent. Right. So now we're going to go to recommendation. Recommendation from the executive manager to give each of these people 2 minutes to speak. We'll go in order of nomination. Harry Seeger, you have 2 minutes.
I feel quite confident I can do this job as I have been on, I think, 2 CEO performance reviews in my field of council, and I feel I'm able to understand the task quite well. Thank you.
Ms. Lassie.
I have previously served on the CEO Performance Review Advisory Panel nearly 3 years ago, where I gained valuable insight and experience and was able to contribute meaningfully to what I consider a robust and fair review. That experience gave me a clear understanding of the sheer breadth and complexity of the CEO's responsibilities and how central that role is to ensuring that the council's many moving parts work together smoothly and effectively, much like a well-oiled machine. I'm very impartial, and my fellow members know that I bring a very high attention to detail, with a commitment to good governance and sound practice. Over the years, I've closely engaged with the CEO review process, identifying improvements in past reviews and contributing consistently, particularly during the development of the new CEO performance evaluation system. I'm pleased that some of my feedback resulted in valuable inclusions in this very system. I believe I would add clear value to the panel, and I'd be pleased to once again represent my fellow members on the panel this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, incumbent on people to record a name on the blue bit of paper if you have one left.
What colour?
Blue, preferably, but we'll take any colour at this stage of the meeting. We have Thank you, returning officers. The result of the vote is that Councillor Selassie will be joining us on the panel. Thank you, Councillor Selassie. Thank you, Councillor Seeger, for putting yourself forward. I seek somebody to move that we confirm Councillor Selassie, Councillor Jones, Councillor Fordham. Any discussion, councillors?
Thank you.
Councillor? Any other councillor? Councillor Jones? All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Recommendation C, that council authorises the general manager's strategy to execute relevant contract documents to appoint Richard Altman Consulting as a person who will be independent to assist for the Chief Executive Officer performance review. Do I have somebody move that way? Councillor Vogt, seconded by Councillor Slessy, I reckon. Councillor Vogt.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll just speak to Richard's advantages. He's great. He's therapeutic to speak to. So I look forward to hopefully speaking with him again.
You, Councillor Slessy.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any other member? Then I will say that myself, having worked with Councillor promoted him again, Richard Altman, absolutely outstanding chap. Very happy that we've come to that decision. Councillor Vogt to close.
Nothing bad.
All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Richard Altman to man. Recommendation D, that council note the indicative timeline attachment to undertake the CEO's performance review on 30th June 26. Somebody move that way. Councillor Westwood. Councillor Jones. Councillor Westwood.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Jones. Any member? Councillor Westwood.
No, thank you, Mayor.
All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. Move to 12.13, ward donations. Do I have somebody move that these ward donations be approved? And before we go any further, is there anybody that needs to declare a conflict of interest? Have a look at them. I wasn't aware of the last half a dozen that appear in green, which I haven't seen. But I'm going to have a look too, just in case I've got something. Anybody have a conflict of interest for any of these matters? Excellent. And somebody move that council approves the donation. Councillor Slessy, seconded by Councillor Orr. Councillor Slessy, Councillor Orr, any council member? Councillor Slessy, all those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. Now move to information reports, and we're going to remove them on block. So we have information reports on item 13.1, 13.2, 13.3, 13.4, 13.5. Somebody wish to move that way? Councillor Segan, seconded by Councillor Westwood. Councillor Segan.
I'm going to say this. Thank you.
Councillor Westwood.
I guess you think of it. Want to speak briefly on the 13.1 to the Adelaide Hills fee structure report with regards to badminton. I note the emails coming to us in regards to this matter as well. And I think for benchmarking our facility with other council facilities, and note that the email most recently benchmarked our facility against predominantly school-based facilities. So I'm not sure how that works in regards to standards of maintenance and standards of use. I would only have a quick question of roughly how many social badminton players there would be playing badminton at the Adelaide Hills Recreation Centre, and what the increase would look like on an annual basis. Because if there's 10 badminton players playing badminton once a week, then that's 520 times whatever the fee is, or whatever the increase in the fee is, as opposed to the overall fee structure, the overall income that Belgravia gets for the running the Adelaide Hills Recreation Centre. So I understand where the report comes from, I really do, but I'm not sure. I just think there are a couple of questions that I have in my mind in regards to the increase in the fees and in the overall picture of the Belgravia income stream for the rec centre. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member wish to speak for this? Councillor Grosso, you?
Yeah, look, I'll speak to 13.1. Yeah, I think the fee increase, we've been sent figures that indicate we're now getting on the higher side, according to the figures here, we're on the lower side, we're probably somewhere in the middle, which is reasonable. I think there's still only 3 courts in use, not the 4th, and that appears to be needed for a couple of years now, but hopefully it's going to be good. I know that users think that as a compromise, if the fees are going to go up, we're going to provide shuttle cots of higher quality, because I don't know if the plastic ones will get taken up anyway. Apparently, I am told that they take a lot more force to protect them. You've got to whack them a lot harder. And so players are prone to get wrists and shoulder injuries compared to using the more sort of ergonomic feather shuttles. So I don't think without moving, or it's not really, you can't move amendments anyway, it's only an information report. I'd like to start to have another look at this. Otherwise, consider doing a little bit more on it down the track. I think we want to encourage an active community. There's quite a lot of uses there. When I was a member of the recreation centre, you see quite a lot of people at times, and waiting for courts at night, because 3 courts doesn't accommodate the number of players that wanted to play. So people are spending longer there at night than they might choose in order to move onto the court. We've been at busy times, so I think that if they could get a win on the types of shuttles that are going to be provided, that would be reasonable. And do I speak now to other items? So, I'd like to speak on 13.2 as well, which is a South update. I'm a member of the health club there. It's a great facility. It's encouraging to see that it's full. I think council and Belgravia have done a good job of promoting it, almost too good, because it's too popular. It's really hard to get into classes, and that's sort of acknowledged in the feedback section. I know that Belgravia are attempting to put on more classes. I think that's what I'm really due. It's only been open 3.5 months, so give time. But I think I was informed by trainers prior to opening that it was going to be oversubscribed, that they didn't have enough instructors for filling the places that are there. So it's kind of been known for a while. It talks about technological improvements. They're probably meaning the virtual Pilates classes. You can get into a virtual Pilates class, which is probably a program on the screen, but that it would be the same, and it requires an additional higher cost membership. So I think council need to talk to Belgravia about putting more classes on before we start to lose members from there. I'm surprised that notification system didn't come up, because if you apply to get on the waiting list, you then get notified by SMS message whether you get in, but up to like the morning of the class. So unless if you apply for a few classes, it's when you go to book the whole of the book, you've got to check emails and stuff. So you've got to check every morning, and then by then you've made other plans anyway. If you don't check, there's a class there that's gone, the place that's gone to waste. And I've given that feedback to staff and said, can we get SMS notifications, and they say, yeah, everybody's saying that, so we'll look into it. So that, I'm surprised that wasn't in the feedback, but that needs to be looked at, whether the software allows that. I think, yeah, there's a comment on the staff. I'd agree the staff are friendly and helpful. A couple of the things I'd like to raise are there's no family fees or family membership structure, and it's expensive for families with multiple children. I'm not sure how that compares with other facilities. I'm concerned that this is not enough for youth. We've got splash pools and learn to swim for children, but that's often seems to be the case, not much for youth, teenagers. It's the same sort of generally, where plenty of playgrounds for kids, but not a lot for teenagers. So I'd like to suggest that when we look at stage 2 works, we consider a diving board or something that would encourage teenagers, something that teenagers will relate to, because there's not a lot, and there are swimming labs. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to any of these information reports? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to speak to, like Councillor Grossell, 13.1 and 13.2. Firstly, 13.1. While I appreciate the work that has gone into preparing this report, I cannot support the conclusion that the current $9.50 fee for social racket sports is fair or appropriate. Over recent weeks, I have heard directly from long-standing users of the rec centre, including founding members of the social badminton group and administrators representing almost 1,000 local players. Their feedback has been consistent, considered and very clear, and I think it is important that we reflect their lived experience alongside the benchmarking presented in this report. One of the main issues raised is that the $9.50 fee does not reflect the real cost of participating. Players have said they currently supply their own feather shuttles at around $4 per person, meaning the true cost of a session is closer to $13.50. That is a significant barrier for families and young people, new participants, and those who simply want to stay active on a modest budget. While the report notes that the centre intends to supply shuttles, users are concerned that this may mean providing cheaper plastic shuttles rather than the feather ones required for proper play. If that occurs, players will still need to buy their own, so the cost burden remains exactly the same. Another consistent concern is the reduced availability of courts. Users currently have access to only 3 courts rather than the usual 4 due to the floor issues on court 2. This means longer wait times and less playing time, yet the fee structure is still based on 4 court offering. Even the agenda report acknowledges that court 2 is of a lower standard and only partially sealed at this stage. Some players have suggested temporary solutions such as a court mat to restore functionality, which shows they're trying to be constructive, not critical. The group has also undertaken its own benchmarking, which paints a different picture to what is presented in the report. Other facilities offering social badminton in Adelaide are charging less, and all of them include shuttles at no additional cost. The Lights Community and Sports Centre, for example, charges $5.50 including shuttles, and this is one of their most popular programs. When our users can provide clear evidence of lower cost and higher quality offerings elsewhere, it becomes difficult to maintain that $9.50 is a fair or competitive fee. Benchmarking may be technically correct, but it's not comparing like for like when our courts are not fully available and not at the same level of amenity as the facilities used in that comparison. And I've lost my last page. One small suggestion, constructive suggestion, I would like to relates to how feedback is being captured within the rec centre, and we were advised at a recent community forum that Belgravia is committed to installing simple suggestion box at both facilities. So while I do appreciate the information provided in this report, I do not believe the current fee accurately reflects the condition of the facility, the availability of the courts, the real cost to users, or the strategic objectives set by the council. And as a number of users have put forward a reasonable alternative, a fee of around $6 per session with feather shuttles provided, at least until all 4 courts are fully operational again. And this would align with the increase of other Adelaide Hills Rec Centre fee adjustments for 25 and 26. Our community plan speaks about increasing the use of community facilities, and our draft sport and rec action plan aims to attract more people more often. This fee structure is the opposite. I want to be clear that I'm not asking council to set a new fee this evening without proper analysis, but given the level of community concern, I think it is reasonable to ask that staff, together with Belgravia, review the fee again and bring forward some considered options. That way we can make an informed decision in the very near future and demonstrate to users that their concerns are being listened to and heard. And now, if I may speak to the item 13.2, the aquatic facility. I just want to say how genuinely thrilled I am to read this report.
It's your time.
I'm speaking to 2 separate items, even though we've taken them on block. I'm still speaking to them separately.
Still 5 minutes on top.
Okay.
Thank you. Well,
No, I'm not. I'm going to suggest anything different. You can give a suggestion.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it. You've probably got a good idea.
I have got a good idea.
Excellent.
My question is to you, Mr. CEO.
Yes.
Is there a capacity of staff to use the delegation to vary charges such as this?
Through you, Mayor, I don't know, technically I doubt it, but the answer to your question, that's a member of staff. Yes, no, Mr. Lindhoff told me yes.
So thank you, that's, you surely.
So there you go.
Another question answered for you, that's the question. So, you want the staff like to spend on that?
I'm not sure that I think the suggestion or the hint's been dropped about the staff using delegation to vary the fee. I wouldn't like to preempt what the staff members' advice is. I mean,
I'm just simply asking the question, can staff vary the charges by delegation?
Yes, is the answer.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the answer. Now, you wish to say something?
No, I was only going to suggest that Councillor Jones has, as is her custom, prepared some notes, and she's put in a lot of time, and she may wish to submit them anyway, by way of a memo to staff to take into account, and to her co-councillors, even though technically she's ran out of time. So as a note, she can send it to us.
Excellent.
It might be good feedback.
Councillor Barnes, always well researched, is the responsive. Thank you. And I was just about to say, Councillor Jones can seek leave of the meeting by a show of hands. Would you like to go that way, Councillor Jones?
Thank you.
Would you like to speak for a bit longer?
I'll just think it, and I promise I'll be very quick.
I know you would. Do I have leave of the meeting by a show of hands for Councillor Jones to expand further on item 13? All those in favour, put your hands up. If you're going to put them up, I'll count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do we need 2 each? Simple majority. You have another 3 minutes, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, and can I say thank you to those councillors that allowed me the further 2 minutes. I'm not sure what happened with the other 2, but thank you.
What's your point of order, sir?
My point of order is that identifying councillors in a vote like this and calling a division, I think it's unfair.
Well, I don't think you have a valid point of order, and I'll ask Councillor Jones to get to the nub of the permission that she was granted to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say how genuinely thrilled I am to read this report. As someone who has advocated for many years for a local aquatic facility, it honestly brings me so much joy to see the community embracing the Summer Aquatic and Leisure Centre the way they have. nearly 20,000 visits in the first 6 weeks, and membership targets exceeded before the doors even opened. That's extraordinary. And when I walk through the centre and see little kids arriving for swimming lessons, teenagers in the gym, older residents enjoying the warm water pool, and families just coming in to spend time together, it really does remind me why we fought so hard for this. It's wonderful to see it being used by people of all ages exactly the way it was intended. And of course, when a facility opens with such high demand straight away, there are always going to be a few bumps as everyone settles in. I want to acknowledge the community for their patience and goodwill, and I want to thank Belgravia and our staff for the way they've been responding to concerns as they come up. It's clear they're trying to keep pace with the demand and meet community expectations, and that partnership is incredibly important. And again, as I mentioned in the previous item, one small constructive suggestion I'd like to raise relates to how feedback is captured. Belgravia committed to installing a simple suggestion box at both facilities, or at least providing a QR code where people can quickly lodge ideas or concerns. A lot of people are currently emailing feedback, but without a central place for it to be lodged, it can be hard to track or respond consistently. A suggestion box or QR code would be an easy win and would support the really strong engagement that we're seeing. Overall, I'm just so pleased with how the South is tracking. It's early days, but it's already become such a vibrant community hub. And I really want to thank our staff, Belgravia, and especially the community for making this facility such a success so quickly. It's something we should all be proud of, and I'm excited to see it continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak to this report? Councillor Selassie.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to speak to item 13.1 and item 13.4. Item 13.1, the Adelaide Hills Rec Centre. I thank staff for their responses on my 3 questions regarding shuttles. I can see that the nets for Port 2 have been delivered and will be ready for use from this week. I did have a question regarding Port 2. So my understanding is that renewal of the Port 2 surface needs to be budgeted for, but the understanding was that there was to be a repair of all of Port 2. However, what was delivered was only remediating 3 of the 4 badminton courts. I'd just like to understand why, please, if the quote was for full repair, what happened to that last court? Is my question.
That's your question, Mr. CEO. Do you wish to delegate that, or
I do wish to delegate it, Mayor.
please?
Yes, to Ms Armstrong, thank you.
No, you have the floor.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Selassie. The information that we had been provided from Belgravia about the repair of that court, our understanding was that that was going to be a more comprehensive repair that would enable Court 2 to be in better condition than what it was. What we have since discovered is that the repair to Court 2 was a fairly immediate and intermediate step. There is significant extra work that needs to be done to that court, which is what needs to be planned out and budgeted for.
May I ask a supplementary question?
You may.
I guess the brief and the scope for that quote, did that come from council? If we had the understanding that it would cover all 4, or did that come from Belgravia getting that quote and that repair work done?
I might just check it came from Belgravia. So Ms Morgan, so that came from Belgravia, that quote, and there's obviously been a miscommunication between Belgravia and our understanding as to what those repairs were going to deliver. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I might ask about the management agreement going forward with that at another time. In relation to 13.4, the advocacy and lobbying activity update, I do want to thank senior staff for actioning the advocacy folder for elected members so promptly. We know that our staff, our CEO and our mayor are out there advocating so hard, and it's just lovely to see the correspondence in real time. I was very pleased and really relieved to see that a letter has gone to the Minister for Primary Industries and Development, or it's been prepared by for the Mayor advocating for mobile black spot funding and telecommunications infrastructure for our hardest hit north ward suburbs, townships. The Cully Creek fire showed us that they are very, very vulnerable with no reception available. So to request the Minister's assistance for funding opportunities and upcoming black spot programs is critical. The Limestone Coast benefited from a multi-million-dollar grant with the support of the Minister. And I'd like to think that our residents and their safety, amenity and quality living is just as important. In looking at the actions undertaken and in progress with this monthly report, I'm really proud of this council's advocacy efforts. In every meeting or community group report that I'm doing, I'm actually flagging this report, drawing our residents and community groups' attentions to these monthly reports, as they do show our efforts ongoing in regard to advocacy and big picture. Beyond the election, I would actually love to see these advocacy and lobbying updates continue, even if they were bi-monthly or quarterly. I do have one minor question in relation to this on page 2.0 of the agenda. It references that there's a quarterly meeting held with DIT senior representatives and senior council staff. From advice given in the November council meeting, the staff answer to my question on those about Sydney Road and the speed limit was it would be escalated further by way of including it in the next agenda of the CEO meeting between DIT and council that was occurring in late November. So I would like to ask if this same quarterly meeting referenced in tonight's agenda was the one that included Sydney Road to be added to the agenda with DIT, and if so, is there any updated information available on the speed limit?
Okay, you don't want
I do not, Mr. CEO, but it's a matter of a procedure of the meeting. I've been advised through my right hand that you should finish your debate first and then seek questions afterwards.
I have finished my debate and that is my question.
Thank you very much. Then that's in accordance with the meeting procedures. I'm glad we've got that clarified. Your question, Mr. CEO, I don't have any more information from you. In fact, I'll considerably less. Please proceed.
Thanks, Mayor. The question was about Sydney Road in particular, and Mr. Burton can add anything that I miss. We did have a meeting with departmental staff on 2 weeks ago. We got onto the topic about speed limits, and we didn't get as far as the particulars of the roads in question, but we did get some very important general advice about how to proceed with advocating for a few roads that are under a microscope, and that would include Sydney Road in that consideration. That important advice was about how to make those representations, and that I can say that the advice that we got was encouraging. Up until now, we might have taken the view that the department was fairly rigid in its assessment of speed changes, but we were pretty encouraged. So in other words, the reception we got was very conducive to making a case for speed changes, and including, Sydney Road and other roads that are under the microscope. And I won't say too much more other than the fact that Mr. Burton and his staff will action based upon the advice we received from the department in terms of how to go about it. Okay.
So just, if I may say, it was escalated further as such, just more broadly, is the answer.
Look, in essence, what we were advised was that we had felt it was very difficult to get some of the, to make the case for some of these changes up until receiving advice from the department. They were very much more receptive to supporting council in those claims, and they then outlined the way to go about it, which was very encouraging. That's about as precise as information I can give you at the moment. What we will do now is to make a case, and I'm not sure, I don't think staff have yet taken that next step, but they will be, based upon the reception happening. Do you want to add to that?
Okay, yeah, please. So,
Okay.
so the CEO is right. It was a general case put to DIT, and they indicated that they're much more receptive to change. We're already having the positive discussions and seeing the evidence of that through start to start with DOT and our own start, Sydney Road. And so we've got a much clearer path forward in regards to achieving a speed limit reduction on that section of the road. So we don't have the final approval yet, but the indication they've given us at the highest level is playing out in the start.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else wish to speak to these reports? Councillor Grossi, you've already spoken once, so I'll take a question. Please stand and ask your question, sir.
In relation to 13.3 houses for tomorrow, in particular the comment, there is confusion around market regulations and council requirements, such as perceived mandatory gas connections. Well, my confusion is why are the developers insisting on, as I believe, on mandatory gas connections in contradiction of 3 levels of government emissions targets. But the term perceived suggests that it's not actually the reality that there aren't mandatory gas connections. So my question is, are developers still mandating gas connections in some of the subdivisions?
Your question is one that I am very slightly hesitant to say no, but I will seek advice from the CEO and his planning people.
Ms. Armstrong.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong.
Well, thank you through the mayor. I'd have to take that one on notice and come back to you, Councillor Russell.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Anybody else wish to speak to these reports? Councillor Seeger, you do?
As closing
No, I'm thinking anybody else to speak before you close the debate. Does anybody else wish to speak before Councillor Seeger closes the debate? Thank you, Councillor Seeger, to close.
Thank you. I just want to briefly talk about the homes tomorrow and just draw attention to the session where it describes that this is considered an outstanding success, evidenced by the high levels of social media engagement and industry accolades received in relation to this. Homes tomorrow is an outstanding success, and the overall cost of $70,000, it cost council $20,000, and the engagement of the community and the response by the community is overwhelming. The question remains as to how much effect it has in terms of changing people's behaviour. We can't tell that, but nonetheless, it's I believe, an outstanding example of what can be done in terms of providing information to people. It's a saying, they're forced to water, but you can't make it drink. I'd like to make a couple of comments about I had about 13.1 in terms of the comments that were made about the variation of fees under delegation. I find that while it may be allowable, possible under delegation, I find that would be a dangerous place to go, because we have a number of facilities where we have managed, we appoint managers to manage them, commercial arrangement, and for us to say you should change this fee because it seems to me either you're handing someone the right to manage something or you're not. Which one is it? If you're going to intervene and say, we don't like this, the evidence is uncertain as to whether our fees, the proposed new fee, is too high or too low. It depends where you look. It seems to me it's pretty much in the middle. So why would we intervene? I think it's a very dangerous concept to go down the path of intervening and overriding management who set fees on the basis of their management of our facilities. Not a situation that give confidence to managers. Beyond this, I have another question. I have another concern. I wish to make it clear that the request for leave of a meeting to undertake something is asking for an extension of a privilege. It is not a right. I take offence at the implied criticism of those who choose not to grant that privilege. It's my right not to grant that privilege. I don't have to grant that privilege. I believe Councillor Jones prepared very lengthy commentary,
seeing absolutely no regard to the 5 minutes that has been allocated to every councillor in relation to comments in relation to the report, etc.
No need. I'm about to say something, but thank you for the point of order. I'll go something in front of you, but if this doesn't satisfy your point of order, I will take it. We are talking about information reports. We are a family in here. We have a new member of the family in the room. I wish that we could all exhibit towards the new member of the family the kindness and happiness that we normally give to each other, and that counts for every member of this council. If we could just move on to that, please.
And I wish every member of this community would actually agree with you.
Yep, thank you for that. Your point of order. Do you have one?
It's fine, yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Seeger, you finished the debate?
Indeed.
Thank you. All those in favour? All those not in favour? The motion is carried. Quarterly reports. 14.1, that we take this quarterly reports on block 41, 42 and 43. Somebody wish to move that way? Councillor Westwood, seconded by Councillor Jones. Councillor Westwood.
Thank you. Just briefly on 14.1, which is the quarterly report of the upgrade updates. I thank staff for having those updates. I think it makes it quite clear where we are with all the work that's been going on. The only other thing I would like to say is that it's good to see that the Department of Transport is casting a wide net as far as their tender acceptances with Capcom, Bard Avcol, BMD, Lead, all catching some of the dollars going out. It will be interesting to see the results from each of those particular contractors.
Thank you. Councillor Jones.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any other member? Councillor Seeger.
I just noted the regional development board and met with on page 263. It said the RDA played Bill and Kangaroo Island board met with the Mount Barker District Council area neutron biological fertiliser for the tour highlighting local innovation in the circular economy practices. I'm not in any way, shape or form disputing that the reuse of manure is a good thing. I would like to know whether anyone who was present at that meeting was able to provide any input to those who gathered there about the impacts of the operations of Newtrop on the surrounding community, as opposed to hearing a one-sided version of what takes place on that site.
As it says there, Councillor Seeger, the RDA and the AHFKI board met with Newtrop's biological fertilisers for a tour, and that they were highlighting the local innovation in the circular economy practices. I don't think there was any discussion that I can see on that document, and nothing I was aware of as a member of the SHLGA that the matter that you were talking to was raised. In answer to your question. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the quarterly reports? Councillor Slash.
Thank you, Mayor. Question through you, please.
Sure.
Under New Mount Barker Hospital Development, discussion points 25 and 26 state council have not yet received design plans for the infrastructure upgrade or renewal works within the Wellington Road corridor associated with the hospital project, and following that we continue to advocate. My question is...
Can you just tell me what page you're referring to, please?
Sorry, page 255.
255? Was that?
Yes.
255, let me get there so I can understand what you are talking about. Yes, so we see...
Point 25, we've not yet received design plans. I think I know the answer to this. I'm aware that it have got the, SA Health have got the hospital project. I've seen that on their website. Did have got the roundabout project. I've seen that on their website. I'm not seeing anything for this Wellington Road portion of. It says we have not yet received design plans. I'm just wondering, do we have any inkling that there may in fact be design plans in the works? Or is SA Health upgrading the hospital and that section of Wellington Road will just remain as is for the foreseeable future.
Great question, Mr. CEO.
It's a great question. I would have a go at it, but I think Mr. Burton is again better equipped to answer that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Burton.
Through you, Mayor. So we saw, and this is a development matter, so it's without a GM, and how they haven't come over. We did see as part of the development application and presentation to council, they had some concept plans for the Wellington Road upgrade, and they presented to council. Forget the dates, from about 12 months ago. So we are aware they do have some plans to upgrade Wellington Road immediately front or outside the hospital, which includes footpath verges and some widening. We just haven't seen the detailed plans for those road widening improvements yet. So which is what we can see, because some of those assets will be gifted back to council at some point. So, but there will be an upgrade immediately outside the hospital.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else wish to talk to this matter? Councillor Fordham.
I just had a question.
Councillor Fordham, you stand and you acknowledge me.
Through you, Mayor, I just had a question.
Sure.
With the Patterson Reserve not being approved, has there been any further discussion about what's happening with the parking and the management of the hospital building in terms of the traders, contractors?
Thank you. No, we haven't had any further feedback from Built or SA Health DIT in relation to pursuing where they're at with pursuing other car parking measures. So our public safety team, I guess, are doing a lot of work monitoring parking around the hospital to try and alleviate any impacts to the local residents. But we don't have anything to report at this point coming from them about an alternate car parking solution that they've managed to negotiate.
General Manager Armstrong. We're now up to Councillor Size. We'll just,
Two arms down.
I'll go around the room. Councillor Grosser, you haven't spoken yet, have you?
No, another question on the hospital development. I'm just wondering whether active transport connections from the hospital heading in the Risto direction are on the agenda, and the council going to advocate for anything there. It's something that's raised in the community quite a lot, as in a shared trail facility. Footpaths.
That's the question that you're putting to the floor, Mr. CEO.
Again, I defer to Mr. Burton. What Ms. Armstrong was a result of the consultation.
I probably only answer by saying that the footpaths will be greatly improved immediately from the hospital. That was clear in their concept plans. We did have some discussions to try and get them to extend some of those paths to Patterson Reserve as part of the Patterson Reserve parking proposal, when that was being considered, which would have seen the extension up Wellington Road. But beyond that, there are no plans for any other active transport shared use trails beyond the hospital site. I will add, though, that Wellington Road is a road that needs to be upgraded under the deed of developers. And so a lot of our advocacy efforts is working with transport to understand their obligations to upgrade Wellington Road to include improved pedestrian facilities.
Can I just add one thing there?
You sure can, Mr. CEO.
I want to state the obvious that I do forget about, but it's worth stating, that is that DIT's role isn't, DIT has a role as a project manager for the hospital. In other words, they're doing a hospital development. All they're worried about is just a hospital development. And so any extended add-ons, like doing what DIT meant to do, what you're suggesting, that's not within their remit in terms of the project. Because their project is as the project manager for the hospital development. That's the scope. That's it. And that's how they're looking at it, with blinkers on. Matters that you're raising are very relevant, but they then fall into this other category of DIT, and that is their general operating business. So we have to argue that on its merit in amongst the bucket of other things that we've got on Adelaide Road that we need to do. So, it's not as if we can make the case via the hospital easily, because they have very much that link of view.
Maybe an opportunity to raise it.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. But it's almost as if for example, governor said, look, here's, I don't know, $200 million going to build a hospital, that's it. So anything that's an add-on or a bonus, well, it's not in the budget.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, and thank you, Mr. Burton. I'll invite any other discussion by council member. And there's, Councillor Kelly.
Mayor, thank you. My question relates to page 255, the Verdun Park and Ride. I see it's being designated out of scope for the current Verdun interchange upgrade. I'd just like to try and raise the profile of this particular issue. I have on good authority that the lack of a park and ride is impacting the Harndorf traffic, the Harndorf parking situation, I should say, as the Harndorf Main Street is being used as a bit of a park and ride, where vehicles are being left for long term. So I realise it's down for further advocacy. I'm not quite sure what can be done to, I guess, bring that, fairly, well, what I would consider a very low spend item to the fore.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly, and you're spot on. As little as 48 hours ago, Mr. Burton and myself hosted the Minister for Infrastructure behind that screen for a couple of hours, and we discussed many matters as I included in my email, which you have not seen, but you will get a copy of that in due course. But the exact point that you raised, very prescient, sir, is that the conversation was had with the Minister about the fact that they will be building a hard standing area for the works that they're going to have to do there, and a legacy of that project to do the interchange could be, and we encouraged it and we advocated for that to be a matter of being sealed to a stage where it could be used as a car park in a few lines and marked on it. So you're actually ahead of the curve. Great question. Anybody else wish to ask a question or speak? In that case, I'll revert to you, Councillor Westwood, close the debate.
Thank you, Mayor, and I certainly appreciate your comments. The Minister, the only issue with the hard stand that you're talking about, the proposed parking road, is that it's on the floodplain. And the reason why the service station that was there previously was taken out because it got flooded all the time. I was there several times. So it could be a bit awkward, that's all I'll say. Have to be built up.
And that's why we employ engineers, sir. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. I move to item 15, the Mayor's report. Somebody would like to move that the Mayor's report be noted. Thank you, Councillor Syes. Councillor Westwood. Councillor Syes.
Nothing further, thank you.
Councillor Westwood.
Nothing.
Any member? Councillor Syes.
No, thank you, Mayor.
All those in favour? All those against? Carried. We go to members' reports. Can somebody move that we receive report 16.1? Councillor Stacey, thank you. Councillor Vogt, seconded by Councillor Syes. Councillor Vogt. Councillor Syes. Any member? Councillor Vogt. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried. Item 17, this is addressed to questions arising from the council meeting. For anybody in the gallery who has a question arising from tonight's agenda. Mr. Hemmings, I hate to put you under the spotlight, but do you have a question? If you do, please come to the rostrum and state your name. If you don't have a question, then I'll make you respond to you.
Thank you. No.
Good night, my friend.
Yes, you're not watching any longer.
Yeah.
We're now going to get to the stage evening where we go into confidence. Under section 93, do I have somebody move that we move into confidence? Thank you, Councillor Vogt, Councillor Jones, Councillor Vogt, Councillor Jones, any member, Councillor Vogt. All those in favour? All those against? All those in favour?
I miss what we're waiting on.
We move on to section 93, and I should stop doing this thing. We've got a new member of the family. Under section 93, we are moving that we will go into confidence to consider item 18.1 So this is where we decide whether we're going to go into confidence or not, cut the live feed, and just talk amongst ourselves in confidence.
Got
So all those in favour of moving into confidence? All those against? It's carried, and my apologies, Councillor Kelly. We now are in confidence. Thank you to the members of the gallery who have left us, and those people online who are about to leave us. Thank you for your attendance. Staff will now disconnect the live stream.